Friends, thank you for watching my channel. I just want to remind you, if you need wallpaper, go to www.wallpaperboulevard.com. Tell them Spencer sent you. In fact, if you use my hashtag, Spencer Colgan is wallpaper, they'll be sure to give you a 10% off at your checkout. No matter how much you order, they have a wide selection of wallpaper. Check it out. This roller will go in that PVC. Okay, so for today's installation, we need a firm roller. We're hanging a Vahallan product that has decorative accoutrements on the wall covering that are delicate. We don't want to take them off. So as the installer, we come up with ways to do that. And one of the ways you can do it is simply to press on the product with a very damp cloth, patting it down. But that's time consuming too. Now, a friend of mine, a colleague from Fort Myers, whose name is Matt Degnan, he said, hey, I've used this on similar installations. Why don't you try it? I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. This is what I've assembled for this job. Okay, so I purchased a length of PVC pipe. Okay? And I've also purchased a brand new quality roller cage. This is a roller sleeve, and this is a roller cage. Now, this is a quality roller. This is a Purdy, and it has a firm, hard plastic inside. It's not the ones that bend. So it's gonna be firm. I put it on a very good cage. Okay, now I'm going to cover this with my PVC, but before I do it, I don't want to move it around. And so I'm going to put liquid nails on the roller so that when it goes in there, it stays put. What do you think? Okay, let's do that. So I put a good amount in there so that this thing stays in place. And if anybody knows what liquid nails is, you know that this is going to be in there for the duration. Okay, let me clean this up and let it dry. Now, I should tell you that after we cut the length, I sanded off any sharp edges or any rough. There were no sharp edges, but rough. Just sanded off with a very, like at least 220 or greater grit. And now we're ready to do what I'm going to show you in the video. Okay, our tool is now drying. And this is not something you want to throw in your work truck after you're done. You know, took a half an hour to construct, and this is something you want to buy a case for. You know, you go to a thrift shop and you get a tool case. You know, they sell them for like a couple of bucks there. You know, that maybe for a drill or something, you throw this right in there because you don't want this getting scratched. If this gets scratched, it's going to make the same scratch mark on your wall covering. So tools are everything in this business. The product we're hanging today is what you might hear called glass beads in other products. This is not Vahallan glass beads, but the technique is the same that I'm going to present in this video. So the color is mauve, or you might say pink, but I'll say it's mauve. And it's for a little girl's room. It's called Vahallan Bliss, B-L-I-S-S. Okay? So the first thing we want to do is read the instructions, because we don't know everything, right? We don't know everything, and we want to incorporate the instructions with our experience, okay? And the reason why I'm choosing the tool that I made is because I could use a regular paint roller. But the regular paint roller is not going to be hard enough. This is thick. If it were paper, yes, I would say go with the paint roller. But this is thick, you'll be there all day with it. Okay? So now, just picture this. Everybody has seen roadways getting constructed, right? You know when that big rolling machine comes by? Does everybody know it's filled with water to make it weigh, you know, whatever, 1,000 pounds or whatever? Well, it's the same idea. The idea is not to affect these raised particles, which are secured to the paper. This doesn't come off. But I'll tell you what, if you're too rough with it, I think it will. So what I'm saying is, roll it. Roll it. Okay, let's get to it. Okay. If you could have a helper, that would help. No pun intended. Okay. Because you don't want to bend this stuff. Okay? You don't want to be bending it. It's so beautiful. Okay. Let's see. Hold on a second here. Okay. This stuff is exquisite. It really is. They're hard to cut through. 2 hands. Pressure. Steady pressure. Nice. Okay. So, let's see how I did. Look at this beautiful piece of wallpaper getting tossed. Oh, I hate doing it. I'd like to take it and frame it or something. Let's go up to the top now. Let's get this smoothed out. So I haven't convinced you, you're not a believer, about using the smoother. Let's go down to the bottom. Listen to this. What do you think that's going to do to your smoother? Do I care about the smoother? No, I care about the wall covering. After I do that on my smoother, I'm going to make it rough. I hate advertising for companies who don't pay me. I don't like doing that. So you don't want to be doing this, okay? You might want to put the edges in like that. That's fine. But we know we can't smooth this with a plastic smoother. The friction will cause the smoother to become uneven and rough and scratch the wall covering. And boy, if you scratch this stuff, you're gonna see it. So this is how I smooth this out. I wipe down my roller, making sure that I'm not pushing any grit onto the surface. And with a firm, see, I bought a good roller cage. People call it a roller handle, but it's actually a roller cage. Firmly, slowly, 2 hands. And it's pushing all of the air out. I don't have any of the particles coming off onto my tools. I put my tool down nice and easily. Let me show you the air that I pushed out. See? And now look at that. We have an obtuse angle here. Okay, and so there's only one way to cut that, and that is with a laser on it. You don't want to take that upon yourself. The drywall finishes, they're good, but they don't make a sharp, crisp corner in these obtuse angles. Okay, I used my smoother to cut my nice edge against the trim. And if you make a mistake, it's unforgiving. It's so thick. So you have to push it in there very well, tight. See that? See that? Okay, I'm pushing it in. You can use your finger here. But that's it. You know, no air pockets. Now, I want to show you that one of the most important aspects of this type of product is the paste. How much paste you're using. If you put on a thick amount of paste, you press on this, you're going to see dents. So you don't want to go too thick. Okay? So let me show you how I prepare each sheet. Now for the obtuse angle cut, where would you put your laser? Where would you put it? Well, I'm going to go with the obtuse trim point. You see that? I'm going to just follow it right up from there. And if it's off, I can say that I made a good faith effort to keep it along the trim point. Below, and you can already tell, look, you can see how nicely it fits in right in the center of that. Look, but look at this. Look at this right here. Watch this. Oh man. It's past the angle. The angle is here where my smoother is, and I'm a good 1/4 of an inch away from it. So I highly recommend, you see, you're going to deceive the eye as a paper installer. You're going to make up for the imperfections of the carpenter, the painter, and everybody else. And you know, your laser is not off. It's the corner, so we're going to make the best of it. And we're going to make it look like it's in the corner. Okay, let's cut that. Look at the top. Our laser, if you can see, is off that corner. You see where the corner is? It's to the right of the laser. I'm not happy. Let me show you up close. Here's my line, here's my corner. Look, I'm 3/4 of an inch away. Guess what? I am not running my blade up against the laser up there. I can't do it. It's too much off. I mean, 1/2 inch, yeah, but this, I'm gonna see how it looks when I leave it on. I can always trim it off. So I'm gonna cut it now. Okay. I did a combination of following my laser and following a little common sense. Since there's so much of a deviation going up this obtuse angle from floor to ceiling, the obtuse angle winds up being too far to the right. It just goes off. And so, or the opposite, I should say. Look. So I left. I'm going to see how that looks when it's all cleaned up. Can you imagine taking off the wall covering and then the homeowner says, hey, your line is crooked? She would be right. And homeowners don't understand all the time when you have to make do with the imperfections of their walls and ceilings. And so, it's just a little matter of educating them. Sometimes they think you're deceiving them because you made a boo-boo. But you see, now I'm in a position where it's a win-win. I can say, well, your carpenters did their best, but they were off. And if you don't like that, if that deviation is visible, I can trim it off. I can trim it. But I think we're in good shape. You agree? Okay, now it's all cleaned up. Here's my guess. No one's going to notice that. Nobody. Nobody. Okay? Now, we're dealing with a very porous backing. Okay. And so, this is the way I go about this installation. Just water. I don't want to count on my paste, which is undiluted, by the way, to expand this wall covering quickly enough by the time I get it on the wall. I can't be dealing with air pockets. Okay. You can also wet it down if you're dealing with a very sensitive floor or whatever. Wet it down with a spray bottle and just wipe your water in with the sponge again. Now this was a double cut. In the middle of your screen is our seam. Now this is a butt joint. What would you rather give your customer with this product? A double cut? Or a butt joint? choice is obvious, right? So I'm left-handed, so I move from right to left, and my right sheet is always overlapped onto my left because I'm a lefty. The action is on the left-hand side. Okay? So I'm overlapped, and here I'm gonna just cut right through it. It's the better seam, and I think you would agree. This is a pretty good time of the day, around 5 o'clock p.m., to see the true color of this product. It's really beautiful. Now, I can tell you that if you're a person who has ever installed drywall, sheetrock, do you know the difference with regard to how much labor is involved when you install 5/8 inch and cut it as opposed to 1/2 inch? Well, if you don't, this is a lot more work to trim this material, a lot of work. It feels like you're cutting a steak with a cheap knife. That's what it feels like. It is gorgeous, but this is very time-consuming. You need a lot of muscle, and it's tough to trim it. It's tough to trim it on the wall. And so I will finish this last sheet tomorrow, and this is how I'm leaving my piece. Why am I doing that? First of all, I pulled it up and wiped it down with a very wet sponge. I want to knock off any ridges of paste that might dry overnight, either on here or on here. Because as the time went on, I thought I was going to install this sheet, and so I had this down, and there's a bed of paste underneath it, so I lifted it up and washed it down with lots of water, so that tomorrow this will remain lifted, and this is installed, but this isn't, so this will be my double cut for tomorrow. I can't be having this stuck here. Come in tomorrow, double cut this, and expect this to come right off of the wall. It's going to take some of the wall with it. Why? Because it's not cured yet. In a couple of weeks, this will come down and won't take any of the paint with it. But tomorrow, if I were to double cut this and lift this off after it's installed, I would make the paint come up. So I leave it up. And remember, it doesn't have any paste on it. I washed it off. And even if it should get stuck, let's say it gets humid and then it goes like this. Tomorrow I come in, I literally just go like this. Comes right up. Okay, so what do you think? I like it too. So I'm back here the next day. I took my push pin off. Right here. Took the push pin off. And I don't know if I put that on video. I put the push pin at the top. You know, this stuff is heavy. You don't want to be playing games, come in the next day and find out that this product is on the floor, right? Common sense. So now we're cutting most of this off, but we just want to get it with wet paste underneath it and give it some time to soak into the backing. It's a very good tool. It has proven to be very useful. Thank you, Matthew Degnam from Fort Myers. years. There's a wallpaper installers convention every year. So veteran paper hangers, guys who've been hanging for years, they go to the convention and get ideas from their colleagues. And when I say guys, I mean paper hangers. There's a ton of women in this business. In fact, I'm pretty sure wallpaper began as a trade that was mastered by women. You ask any of the people who put up wallpaper in the 60s and 70s, it was the moms, you know? My mother showed me how to hang paper in the early 80s. And for her, it was, you know, it was a way of life. Everybody had wallpaper back then. Everybody in their dining rooms and kitchens. Roosters, big, odd brown and orange shapes. Check it out. There's a website called 70s Wallpaper. Check it out. If you like retro stuff, you'll see what we used to... it's in all of our family photos now, you know? And the wallpaper, you didn't just take it down after 2 or 3 years when you got sick of it. You took it down when one of the pieces fell on your head and almost killed one of you. You know? You didn't take that stuff down. You know when you took it down? When little Johnny graduated from college. Oh, we put this up when Johnny went to grammar school. You know? Now he's in med school, you know? Time to change the wallpaper. Seriously, people kept the wallpaper up easily 20 years. Okay, we're ready to hang the next sheet. But I'm going to treat this corner specially, and you know what I'm going to use. So I put my VOV paste nice and thick on this corner. Okay? This is very thick wall covering, and we do not want any problems. Once you get it on, like 8 hours later, you're committed. There's no, you got to live with the corner, whatever it is. So you want it tight. So I use my VOV, and that's where we're at, okay? And I strongly suggest that on any corners you do the same thing. You got to get the hard part of the palm in the corner, pressing on it. Because you want to feel it too, you know? You don't want to just roll the plastic roller over it. There's a lot to say about feeling it. Okay? Now there's still air in it, but it's tight. It's nice and tight. Let's do a little more. Okay. Now I'm really pressing up against this corner. I got both of my palms on right at the corner, and I'm pushing onto the corner and then outward. Oh. Take a break from that. Okay. May as well bring you in. Let's see. Okay. You know, sometimes the wallpaper has metal in it, and you don't realize it, and you get shocked. You know? So we work in sections here, you know, 20 inches or so at a time. I do my trimmings, you know. It's nice when you come back down to where you spend 15 minutes and it's already trimmed out, you know, instead of having to get back down into position and trim it. Oh, goodness. How do you do your corners? I like to do them holding them and just following the line that I made with my smoother, because there comes a point at which you can't get into the heart of the corner, and so I just do my educated guess, and it always works out, you know. Okay, looking sharp. I love when corners look sharp. Look at this. If you don't love wallpaper hanging, seriously, don't do it. It's too hard. You really gotta love it. You know? Okay. We will roll it with our roller after we're reasonably certain that we've gotten all of the air that we can get out manually by our hands. Okay, I'll bring you up here in a moment. All right, just continuing. This was a hard corner to do. But the harder, the more enjoyable it is. You know? Okay. Let's consider. See, I'm always going off that corner. I'm pushing it. Okay, busted my last seam. Come on now. See? If you guys see me double cut, somebody said, I don't know how you're not going through the sheetrock. I'm barely going through the second layer, folks. Okay? This is thick. Imagine 2 layers of this. Vahallan Bliss, B-L-I-S-S. Of all of the Vahallan products I've installed, this is the most difficult by far. If you want the job to be seamless, that is to say, reducing the perceptibility of the seams, you gotta work hard. It's a lot of cutting, and it's a lot of muscle. I recommend that you only put in 3/4 of a day, seriously, so that your seams can look their best. We all know how it gets tiring after doing double cuts, right? And so when you're cutting through this, don't blow out your arm on the first day or 2. That's just my suggestion. That's what I would do if I were to do it again, or when I do it again. 6 hours the most. Because I'm a fanatic for perfection. I want the seams to be perfect. When I double cut them, I don't want you to see them. And that takes, at least for these walls, 20 minutes per seam after they're cut. Wiping them down, pressing them down, looking at them from different angles, and going back to them. That's what I do. And I'm sure that's what a lot of you do as well. At the beginning of the video, we discussed that corner, and I am liking it more and more. I am going to leave it like that. It's barely perceptible, and I am sure nobody will be able to perceive that the obtuse angle, which is in the center of your screen right now, will be obviously off to the eye of the homeowner. Some things are just better left unsaid, right? Okay.